years.
Get over it!
She'd done worse. Much worse. A dirty mattress wouldn't kill her. At least she'd be out of the cold and wind. But he had a van. Why hadn't he just pulled into an alley? He didn't need to drive this far for a little privacy. The cold snap had driven most bodies off the street. Cops had been rounding up the homeless and forcing them into shelters all week. Frozen bums weren't good for the city of brotherly love's image. At least it was warm in the van, and he couldn't be that bad. He'd been considerate enough to crank the heat for her, right? She should be grateful. Then what was setting off her creeper alarm? She glanced to her left. An overhead light passed over the vehicle, casting his profile in shadow. His focus was on the road, not on her. Most men who hired her were already thinking about sex, looking, touching, making sure they were getting what they paid for. But this guy didn't even seem all that interested in her. She opened her coat as the interior warmed. Might as well give him a look at what he was paying for. She shifted, crossing her legs and flashing the merchandise. But he continued to stare through the windshield, distracted by whatever was going down in his own head. Weird. He slowed as they neared a construction site on Columbus Boulevard. Mounds of dirt shrouded with black tarps surrounded a cleared area. Snow and ice topped the mounds like whipped frosting on devil's food cupcakes. He parked, and she scanned the area. The site was empty. She couldn't see anything beyond the piles of dirt except the skyline, where the lights of the Walt Whitman Bridge glowed. Wait here. He climbed out of the van. She heard the rear door open, then lots of scraping sounds as he took something out of the back. Making room? He opened her door and extended a gloved hand. Come here.
Outside?
Her voice squeaked like a dog toy. Her first thought was that he had to be kidding, but one look at his eyes told her he was dead serious. Her belly went queasy. She'd been on the street for years, working just about every day. Cheryl had come home beaten multiple times. Once, Nicole had had to take her to the emergency room. Until tonight, Nicole had been fortunate. But her luck had run out. She took his hand. His fingers closed around hers in a solid grip. Strong, very strong. Too strong for her to do anything but what she was told. She couldn't run in her heels, and she wouldn't get 50 feet barefoot on the icy ground. There wasn't anyone around to hear her scream. Her knees wobbled as she climbed out of the van. The cold punched through her coat and shook her to the marrow. He handed her a flask. Drink. Taking it, she tilted it to her lips and sipped. Whiskey burned a fiery path through the center of her body, but didn't manage to warm her. I have a script for you to read. Great. He wanted to role play in the middle of an Arctic front. What was up with him? Her creep meter kept waving back and forth between he's okay and he's going to kill me.
Can I read this inside the van?
She shivered, her teeth clacking like castanets. No, it has to be here, but I promise it won't take long. Afterward, I'll make sure you get home. She took the sheet of paper. The wind kicked up, fluttering the corners of the page. Cold tears blurred her vision. The man shined a flashlight on the page. Read it, he demanded in a voice that sparked a hot prick of renewed fear in the pit of her belly. This was wrong, all wrong. Without lifting her head, she surveyed the area again, but the piles of dirt all around the site blocked the view. There was no one around. She was on her own. Her gaze dropped to the page. The 3 short, strange sentences sealed her fate. This was it then, the end, and she'd meet it alone and cold. Made perfect sense. That was how she'd spent most of her life. Her voice trembled.
I see my master in paradise. He calls to me. Take me to him.
His next moves